Hey everyone, here we are with Healing You with Gloria, and I'm Gloria's co-host, Gail Donahue, and welcome. And Gloria, I have something that's come up for me that I thought if we could talk about it. We talked about it a little bit the other day to get just when you and I were together, and it was related to me discovering something about being on a roll with doing some activities, some action steps related to my goals, but then stopping and not following through with sort of the last couple of steps that I needed to do. I could have done them, but I just postponed doing them for like 5 days. And maybe you could shed some light on what you see and share what you see could be happening here.
Yeah. Well, that's a very common pattern. And I want to acknowledge that most people don't even notice that it's happening because that's really driven by those unconscious patterns that are in our life that really are fundamental patterns that were imprinted when we were really little. And so it's quite easy to slip into them and not notice. So the path to come out of that is to actually notice, oh, that's something that I could have done. Like when we were talking and you said, oh, talking, I'm just recognizing that there's this thing that I need to do and I've just not done it. I've just pretty much ignored it. So in the creative process, that would be being complacent. It's like when you see something, there's a part of you goes, I ought to do that. And another part goes, no, we don't need to do that because the pattern that we have doesn't want to change. It's used to doing this. The body's used to doing what it believes it needs to do for us to survive. Because when we were little, that's the survival strategy that we had. So when we can recognize that and honor that, that can start to open up a new possibility.
Yeah. And it's interesting because as I looked at it afterwards, I could see how taking the action was going to continue me growing and closer to my vision that I want. But instead, I did familiar, smaller little tasks that kept me busy and whatnot. So this makes sense that, it was this unconscious pattern that was pulling me back and pulling me back to what was familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this example that you're just transparently sharing with everyone, because initially there was this stretch. You had this goal, you stepped into your heart, you had a vision, and you're like saying yes to that. And so you stretched yourself to begin to do more in a different direction. And then when things started to open up, there was that rubber band pull that brought you back into the complacency. And yet then when you took time and you also recognized that, you stepped back into your heart and you recognize, I really do want this. And so even though I don't want to do it, I'm going to do it anyway. And so you stretched yourself and you step back in. And so it opens up that new possibility so beautifully to really follow your heart, to really step through, go towards that primary goal by taking those secondary actions, even though your pattern is like, wait a minute, over here hollering at you. You can recognize it, it can make sense, and
Yeah.
live the life you love.
Yeah. And just to catch that one part there that actually it did feel good to actually do it when I did do it. Like I entered into doing it and following up, and I had a way better feeling of energy and positivity and whatnot. There was a little bit there still about it was just there, but I just noticed it, and but much I had much more energy towards doing it and not having any doubt or pulling back. So after I had recognized it and it was named and looked at and could look at the two circles that we've talked about before.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I want to encourage our listeners too to then recognize that when this happens, because this is very common to happen, it's allowing you to have the practice of stretching yourself and growing. Sorry about that. I'm not sure where that came from, but that we don't have to give up. because that can be a secondary pattern that will take over, and we fall down that slippery slope of our patterns of when we become complacent, then we start to judge ourselves and we just like give up. Well,
Yeah.
you didn't give up. So it's never too late to have a second chance. So step
Mm,
back into your heart, step back into that circle that represents what you really love, and then really notice what that's like and allow that to inspire you.
great. Yeah. Thanks, Gloria. Well, till next time, and we can start to talk about our next life adventure and our interesting topic related to creating these new lives.
Thanks, Gail.
Thanks.